Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia offers the widest selection of sports cards and signed memorabilia in the city. For dedicated casual and new collectors, Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia has everything a collector could ask for. Everything we sell is stored with care, and with help from our knowledgeable team, we'll help you find exactly what you're looking for. We carry Upper Deck hockey card brands like Series 1 and 2, the Cup, Ultimate, SPA, and plenty more. So what are you waiting for? Come down to Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia, Winnipeg's premier sports cards and memorabilia store.
Happy early evening, MFHL fans. Welcome into this edition of the MFHL podcast, which is brought to you by Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia, Terrico Goaltenders, Movement, Fitness, and Performance, and of course, Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia. As we try to get our new overlay in here to update it, since this is not episode 14, it's episode 15 of the podcast, where we're going to be bringing you 2 editions of the MFHL podcast this week, and I truly do mean that. I know that in the past, this season, it always hasn't worked out that way. It's just been one of those years, MFHL fans, one of those years where it's just technical difficulty one after another, and then just trying to think of ways how to get, more viewership into MFHL game days. Of course, the podcast is a great marketing chip, a great marketing tool for this, and it's something we want to deliver more to you as this season continues to go along, as we're also going to be heading into the final week of the regular season here very soon. It's the final 2 weeks of the MFHL regular season at this point. We're going to be resuming action in the league on Friday. We're going to get into, what those matchups are going to be. We're also going to show you highlights throughout this edition of the podcast, from 2 of our past matchups that we've covered. And then we're going to preview next episode a bit. We're going to talk about some college commitments that have happened, / university commitments, and that'll be a part of a preview for the next stage, which is our college commitment segment, which will be returning with Ferdy Nelson for episode 16, season 3, coming up this week to start off February, which is crazy. We're already here, and by the standings, not crazy to see these teams at top 2. They've been battling for first place between each other all season long. Winnipeg has played one more game than the Eastman Selects at this point. They came away with 2 huge wins over the weekend. For the Westman Wildcats, they find themselves in 3rd place still, came away with a huge win over Pembina Valley on Sunday. The Avros 2 points behind them, and then, well, not as big of a gap compared to second to third, but there is a bit of a gap between the Avros and the Chiefs at this point. As Yellowhead, basically they're locked into that 4-5 matchup that'll come in the first round, which will be either between them and the Avros or them and the Wildcats. For them to get home ice advantage, they're hoping that the Winnipeg Avros lose out and they win out, as that's going to be quite a best of 5 first round series if it does end up happening. Those two teams have put up some great matchups against each other so far this year. Central Plains and Pembina Valley now tied for 6th place, is Pembina Valley with a bit of an advantage. They have one more game in hand compared to Central Plains, and for Interlake, the bottom team, of course. And, well, we had a chance to see them in action against the Winnipeg Avros this past Tuesday, so 6 days ago, where Callie Lavallee produced some magic. On to the power play. First team to go on the special teams tonight, looking for the lead. As it is brought to you by Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia. Not only would it be the lead, the first lead of the game. What a move from down low by Lavallee. Does it all herself and scores. Totally fakes out. Jocelyn a stick also broken on the ice right now. Going to be an expensive gift, perhaps. Oh, look at that. Lavallee scores. As Lavallee steps up, picks the pocket of an Interlake Lightning player. Seawalk, DeFroze, back up to Clausen. Delayed penalty coming up as well here. The Arrows in front. Lavallee, is that number 3? Yes, I believe it is. A hat-trick performance for number 8 in this hockey game. So the Avros will not be going to the power play. For Callie Lavallee, it's her second hat-trick of the season in the MFHL, in the regular season, that is. And, well, it's come against the same team twice. It's her second one against the Interlake Lightning. As for the superstar forward for the Avros, a big past couple of games for herself. She's now up to 32 points or 33 points in 30 total games played, because for some reason game sheets includes Midwest Elite Girls Hockey League stats. I don't know why, if they're including that, why they don't include the rest of their statistics. But you can find Callie's full statistics as well as the rest of her Winnipeg Avros teammates at on the Winnipeg Avros website. But for Callie, she's now up to 32 points in 26 games played for herself. That puts her sitting third in points in the league, 1 point ahead of Emily Carrier. And for the Avros, that's a huge win. Any win at this point is huge in the season. I feel like this is a team that isn't satisfied with 4th. They're looking for 3rd place, and also just continuing to look to build good habits heading into the playoffs, as good habits is going to play a huge part into any team's playoff success, that is, as it usually does in this sport. But as we look to the rest of the Week 16 statistics, Winnipeg Ice came away with a huge 4-3 win in a shootout, coming back against the Westman Wildcats on Saturday, as that lifted them in first place past the Eastman Selects. By the way, Eastman was out of province competing in a tournament this past weekend, so that's a big reason why they didn't go into the Female World Sports School Challenge, which happened 2 weekends ago in the MFH, or 4 teams in the MFHL. For 6 of them at least, as Central Plains and Eastman were the only teams that didn't compete there. But Eastman, they were out of province, down in Kelowna to take on a bunch of different teams. More on them coming up in this edition of the show, but Pembina Valley, that's a huge win this past Saturday. Fell to the Westman Wildcats in a close one, 4-3 on Sunday as well. So Pembina Valley, are they starting to pick up their game at the right time? very well may be the case. We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, Winnipeg came away with a huge win in their second game and final game of Week 16 with a 5-3 win over Central Plains. Of course, the Ice with a big 6-0 win on home ice Sunday afternoon against the Interlake Lightning. But as for that Saturday matchup, we were in attendance for that one, and yeah, there's been so many great games on the network this year. That was one of the most memorable ones. I know that it just happened literally 2 days ago, but I think when we look back, that's going to be one of the top games that we were able to cover. Back and forth action as it went along. The Winnipeg Ice having to battle back and doing so in dramatic fashion, as we'll show you in the highlights coming up. Westman, as shown on the scoreboard, had a 2-1 lead heading into the third period, and they were looking to stretch that lead even more on the power play, where they had a lot of success all afternoon. For Perkin to the high slot. Perkin scores! I believe in front, Baronic gets the tip. Nicholas tries to tuck this in with the backhand rebound there, but Temple can't whack it successfully. Now to Adams, another chance, Temple scores! Persistence pays off this time for the Winnipeg Ice, as it's the rookie forward, Marin Temple. Shot wide of the net. Deckley back to Hudson. Hudson, her shot. Blocked up. Robbins through the 5-hole scores! Tie game, 2:43 remaining. The 41st shot drops through the 5-hole of Shannon Hees and finding it in the slot. That's Gabby Robbins. Wait, he's out, but just fired a shot on net that's turned aside with ease by number 1. Now Callie Franklin walks in. Franklin puts on the moves on Matthews. What a beauty! Backhand to forehand to the top shelf. Number 14 in Franklin gets her Wildcats on the board as the first team to score in this shootout. Kate Cairns to go now for the Winnipeg Ice. Can she answer back? It's Kate Cairns down Broadway, takes it to the left a bit. Cairns, oh, beautiful move to the backhand. She scores. Totally fakes out Shannon Hees. Gets her to commit. It's Chloe Nicholas. Potential here to really put the pressure on the Wildcats to score to the backhand. Another one. Same exact move as her teammate. Who shot beforehand. Seems like they found a kink in Hees' armor. As a fake to the forehand, tuck in with the backhand once again. Hurenick to keep this game alive. Turned aside by Matthews. And the Ice survive a scare. Come away with a big 2 points in the standings to hop over the Eastman Selects by 1 point to regain first place. There you have it. The Winnipeg Ice coming back late in the third period, scoring 2 pretty quick goals in a game which, you know, tough for the Westman Wildcats to see it slip away like that. They have not fared very well in the shootout at all this season. That's their 5th shootout loss of the year, and they're the only team outside of the Interlake Lightning who haven't won in the shootout as of yet. So I think they'll be excited more so for playoff time if games get into extra time. Of course, there's a lot of pressure that's going to be on you then with whoever scores first, of course, like any overtime, sudden death. So, but I feel like they'd probably like to forget about the shootout this year. But yeah, you got to give the Winnipeg Ice a lot of credit for battling back the way they did, sticking with their process, their game plan. They upped the pressure in the last half of that third period, really for the whole third period. This was a Winnipeg Ice team that outshot Westman throughout that game. Shannon Hees gave it all she could give for her team, but in the end, it wasn't quite enough. As for Winnipeg, they saw their big-time players step up, and players like Sophie Wozosensky having 2 points, Marin Temple, her 12th of the season, to cut the lead down to 1 with the first goal in that third period. And got to give a lot of credit to Isla Matthews, too. Just realizing I didn't say the shots yet. It was 45-33 in favor of the Winnipeg Ice throughout 65 minutes of that game, but the Wildcats scored on their first 2 goals of the game, put the Ice down 2-0 after the Ice had put up a lot of chances the other way beforehand. And got to give Isla Matthews a lot of credit, a rookie goaltender who bounced back pretty nicely after that. Only gave up 1 goal the rest of the way, was pretty solid in the shootout, only let 1 beater, and that shows a lot of character, I think, from someone that's so young in the Ice's rookie goaltender. As for Matthews, that would be her let's see. It's trying to take a look at the record that she has. I can't quite tell for some reason based on the website right now, but in total she's got 11 wins. She's only lost twice this season, having one heck of a start to her Winnipeg Ice career. But I do think in the end, like, maybe a timeout doesn't change anything at all from the Winnipeg Ice tie in that game, but I do feel like after giving up a 3-2 goal, with it being so late in the game, with the Winnipeg pressure being the way it was, that Carissa Kirkup and her coaching staff didn't call a timeout, but at the same time, trusting in their group to play it out. Sometimes that's just going to be the case, right, if you don't have a timeout late as they're trying to get ready for the postseason. What a game between those two teams. They faced each other in the semifinals back at the Female World Sports School Challenge a weekend ago from that matchup, I guess 6 days ago, since it had happened 2 Sundays ago in the morning, which, of course, we'll get into that tournament coming up right away on how it played out, as we haven't done a podcast since that tournament's ended. But coming up now into the final weekends of the season, the second last weekend of the season, as it's going to be starting off on Friday night with 3 matchups. We're going to have Eastman and Avros broadcasted. I think that the Avros could potentially give the Eastman Selects a really good game, but I mean, we know how good Eastman can be at taking control of games. Winnipeg most likely going to need a really good performance from one of their goaltenders in net, as Eastman's coming back from a road trip down in Kelowna this past weekend. I guess not really a road trip since they flew there, but they'll be back to taking on MFHL teams this upcoming weekend. Yellowhead and Pembina Valley, that's a big game for PV, as they're battling to get 6th place right now against Central Plains, who won't be in action on Friday. Westman at home against Interlake, a game that they got to have if they want to give themselves the best chance of finishing 3rd place. No game's going to come easy, and Interlake's not going to be a pushover for sure in terms of their effort level. How does Westman find a way to take control in that game will be interesting to sit back and see how it unfolds on the online scoring. As for Saturday night in the league, it's going to be the Winnipeg Ice, Central Plains Capitals, Pembina Valley going to Hartney to face off against the Wildcats, and then Yellowheads at home to face off against the Lightning. 2 games on Super Bowl Sunday afternoon will be in Niverville for Eastman and the Ices. That could very well be a game that could determine first place in the standings once we hit 28 games in the end of this regular season. The Avros, big matchup for them against the Central Plains Capitals at 1:30 p.m. We'll preview the Selects and Ice matchup coming up in episode 16 later this weekend. But as for the Female World Sports School Challenge, we're going to get into who the winner was. I'm pretty sure you all know, MFHL fans, but we're going to hit a commercial break first before we get into that and talking about the stats leaders from around the MFHL, and then we'll send you off on this Monday evening. This is the MFHL Podcast, Season 3, Episode 15. We're hoping you're enjoying this one. Manitoba Female U18 AAA Hockey League fans will be back for more after this.
Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia offers the widest selection of sports cards and signed memorabilia in the city. For dedicated casual and new collectors, Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia has everything a collector could ask for. Everything we sell is stored with care, and with help from our knowledgeable team, we'll help you find exactly what you're looking for. We carry Upper Deck hockey card brands like Series 1 and 2, the Cup, Ultimate, SPA, and plenty more. So what are you waiting for? Come down to Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia, Winnipeg's premier sports cards and memorabilia store.
Welcome back into the MFHL Podcast, 3 minutes before 6 on the first Monday of February. Pretty sure I heard that the groundhog didn't see a shadow today, so heard that's good news. 6 more weeks of winter, which isn't all that much, considering how long this winter has felt. Yet it's gone by so fast as we're approaching the final weekend of MFHL action soon. We're heading into the second last weekend. Triple header on Friday. We'll have Eastman and Avros as mentioned. And then Sunday we'll have Eastman and Winnipeg. We'll have the night off of our broadcast coverage on Saturday. But yeah, lots of action to tune into. If you're from any of these areas, want to go down and see what this league's all about, check it out. It's really great hockey, and it's been a pretty competitive season. Pretty competitive, too, down at the Female World Sports School Challenge, as this season they introduced an all-star, or not an all-star game, but they introduced a skills competition, and in the skills competition there was a number of MFHL players that ended up taking home awards in their categories. Leah Clausen for the Avros, winning hardest shot. Adeline Nolgren for the Avros, most accurate shot. Sauce Comp winner was Aaliyah Texiera of the Winnipeg Ice. Callie Lavalley, the shootout winner in that category for the Avros. And then Gina Plett, the shootout winner for the goalie. So there were 2 different categories there. MFHL represented very well as the Winnipeg Ice, well, went back to back. As this picture was posted on their Instagram, they did not drop a game the entire weekend. Took OT to win in one of their games in round robin, but overall perfect. Went out and defeated the Westman Wildcats, as mentioned, 6-3 in the semifinals on Sunday morning. They got ready for an afternoon matchup against the Rink Hockey Academy Winnipeg team and took home the gold for a second straight year with a 3-1 win. The Ice finding success in this tournament and, of course, proving that they were able to carry over that resiliency as well into this past Saturday's matchup against the Westman Wildcats, as they battled in some close games throughout that weekend and were able to pull them out. And, you know, for that tournament, always a great event. MFHL teams did pretty well. Yellowhead ended up finishing 7th place, beating the Pilot Mountain Buffaloes 10-2 in that matchup. That was their round robin matchup. Sorry, I scrolled down too high. In their rematch, they ended up winning 3-1 over Yellowhead to win consolation in 7th place. The Avros and Pembina Valley were slated in the 5th place game, and the Avros came away with a 3-1 victory and an overall positive weekend for them, I'd say. And Yeah, cool. Like I said, that they were able to introduce a skills competition this year just gives scouts fans a closer look at these players' individual skills. And yeah, fans were treated to some great hockey throughout the weekend, a tournament that consisted of many teams from the MFHL. There were three CSSHL teams, and of course, six MFHL teams to make up the total. Balmoral Hall, Rink Hockey Academy, Winnipeg, and Pilot Mountain would be the CSSHL teams. And as mentioned, the Eastman Selects and Central Plains Capitals were the only teams that did not join that tournament. As for the Eastman Selects, they were down in Kelowna, British Columbia, where Eastman was competing in the RHA Classic. They finished off their weekend with a loss, 2-0 to the host in RHA. Finished with a positive record though of 3-2, and I think for Eastman, look, this is a team that is looking, I think, to change things up this year, which they did in terms of their tournament play a bit. They've played a bunch of teams from outside of the league, and I think that's huge for them moving forward, getting as much practice as you can against different styles, given that, and different teams, given that, you're looking to go back to the West Regionals and beat the Saskatchewan winner, and those are really good skating teams, really skilled teams that come from Saskatchewan, and they know what they have in the MFHL. They know how they stack up. They want to see how they stack up against other skilled and fast teams. And for Eastman to come away with the 3-2 record throughout that weekend and keeping every single game pretty well close, I think is huge for this team's confidence moving forward into the final 2 weekends of the regular season and into what they're hoping would be a very long playoff run, as they'll be looking to defend their title this season. As for the stats leaders in the MFHL, Ivy Perkins still sits up top. We witnessed her grab her 50th point of the season. Congratulations to Ivy on that. She's now at 53 points as she had another 3 in the Wildcats' victory over Pembina Valley over the weekend. Delaney Rigaud, no longer the goals leader, but second in the league in goals and second in points, as mentioned. Callie Lavallee's into the top 5 now. Rookie forward Emily Carrier 1 point behind her, tied with Brea Kapusta, the grade 12 rookie in this league. As for the wins leaders, Gina Plett leads by 2. Addison Tome still yet to drop a game in regulation and league play. Her counterpart right behind her in Isabelle Labossiere, Isla Matthews, and Indigo Stone round out the top 5 in terms of the wins leaders. And then also, congratulations to the Week 15 winners in Leah Clausen, Delaney Rigaud, and Isabelle Labossiere on bringing home those awards. Can't wait to see what Week 16 brings. And speaking of Week 16, you can catch 2 of our matchups that we broadcasted for that weekend of action in the MFHL. On our Uscreen service on gshowproductions.uscreen.io. We're going to be releasing our MFHL schedule most likely tomorrow on our social media, as well as on Uscreen, on our main website too, on gshow.ca. And of course, a lot of great action still coming up for us in the production side on YouTube too, as we got one more edition of the MFHL podcast coming up at the end of this week, near the end of it, when Ferdy Nelson is going to be joining the show. Before I let you all go, I'm going to come back after we show you this promo screen, and we're going to just mention some of the latest commitments from around the MFHL, and that'll kind of be a preview of what me and Ferdy are going to be talking about coming up in episode 16 this week. So don't go anywhere. The end of episode 15 coming up right next on your home for MFHL hockey on G Show Productions and gshow.ca. And you've pretty much made it to the end of the MFHL podcast. Lots of stuff still to talk about in the league, but wanted to keep this one a bit shorter, so we're going to be ending it off here. As for episode 16, though, season 3, Freddie Nelson's going to be a guest on that show, joining the next stage segment where we're going to be talking about the latest commitments made from around the MFHL. So I can't wait for Freddie to return here to the show. Always great having him on. But we're also going to get into, I'm not sure if we will on that segment or not, but I know I'm going to get into just breaking down the matchups we're going to be doing on the network over the weekend. This is quite exciting with the amount of MFHL action that's going to be coming our way during the playoffs. But yeah, we're also going to be going through the top 68 selections from Team Manitoba and Team Manitoba's program of excellence as they're already preparing for next season's Women's Nationals tournament. As congratulations too to Kelsey McComb for being named head coach for that group, as of course Coach McComb is the bench boss for the Interlake Lightning in the MFHL. Outside of that, in terms of what me and Freddie will talk about, as for commitments, we'll be talking about Addison Tome's commitment to the University of Saskatchewan, as well as Delaney Darby's commitment recently to Midland University, as Midland has become a hotbed for MFHL talent to go to, one of the most frequent programs we see that has been making commitments throughout this league in this province. And yeah, outside of those two, we may also get into talking about players like Adriana Almeida and Cassie Carvalho, who committed to the University of British Columbia, as well as much more coming up next episode, which will be episode 16 in season 3, everybody. But until then, this has been your host, Graham Forsyth, peacing out and waving so long. We got 2 more podcasts coming up tonight. MMJHL podcast featuring a head coach as a guest. Scholastics, which is our Winnipeg High School Hockey League podcast, which will feature their leading point getter and goal scorer in Karsten Ross from the Oak Park Raiders. And yeah, just want to thank you all for watching. Super busy weekend weekend coming up for us on the network. Thanks to Terrico, Movement Fitness and Performance, Ken Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia, Goaltenders, and Terrico for sponsoring this edition of the MFHL podcast. Be sure to check out our Uscreen service, gshowproductions.uscreen.io, as the upcoming schedule of games will be slated on there by tomorrow for the MFHL. Of course, we'll have our playoff matchups up when that time comes too. And yeah, like I said, check out all the rest of the content we got coming out this week on Uscreen, as all the money that's spent goes back to the athletes and the leagues and teams that we support and cover. So that's it for me. Graham Forsyth saying so long and take care, everybody. We'll see you in episode 16, season 3.